Oh hey! I'm glad you're here. We did it! Season 9 is here, and I feel happier than Fred Williamson shooting exploding arrows in Warriors of the Wasteland. I'm more joyful than Madman Mars hearing his name uttered by a campfire. I'm as optimistic as Captain Spaulding eating Tutti Frutti. It's a new format, a new studio, but the same great guests and the same celebratory movie conversations. So, if you're a first-time listener, welcome. And if you're a longtime supporter, then thank you for coming back. I really appreciate you. So let's get right to it. The film is Office Killer. The guest works in an office, and this is VH Us. Hello, and welcome to Season 9 of VHS. It's the podcast where each episode is about a film and the guest has the profession or experience portrayed in the film. I'm your host, Dirk Marshall, and I'm joined in studio by my co-host, Sarah Marshall. How are things?
Hey, Dirk, I'm here with you today.
That's right.
It's like the first day on the job.
Yes, Season 9, first day. That's perfect. People can find you as Sarah Spicy Marshall on Twitter and Instagram.
Yep.
And how is your podcast, Meaningful Marketplace, going?
It's really good. We just recorded our 100th episode.
Oh, congratulations.
So that feels really exciting. We've done it for a couple years now. You know, we try to record every week unless it's a holiday or something where it's too busy. It's been really great. We've met some really amazing people and it's been really fun. And if people want to listen, we talk a lot about food and female business owners. So it's pretty rad.
Excellent. Our first guest for the Season 9 is Paxton Holley, who is a programmer analyst. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I am very excited.
Now, I know you from the podcast Cult Film Club with Sean, Robert, and Jamie, but you also have two other podcasts, Hellbent for Letter and I Read Movies podcast. Could you break those down for us?
Yeah, sure. Hellbent for Letterbox. We had to shorten it for the Twitter handle because it's so long. Hellbent for Letterbox is Michael May and I talk about Westerns. It's pretty much just Westerns and media. So we usually pick a movie and we also kind of talk about some books and the comics, but really it's just we each pick a movie and then we discuss what we think of it in each episode. And that's a lot of fun. He and I both have a long history of liking Westerns. I Read Movies is my movie novelization podcast. It's just me. Each month I pick a movie novelization. I read it and watch the movie. I pretty much get on and discuss the differences, what the book did differently, new characters, new subplots, and just go through it. I also do a little bit of things that don't make sense in the movie and if they make sense in the book and how it fixed it and stuff like that. So it's me just kind of going through the differences between the book and the movie.
That sounds really fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's amazing how it's changed my perception of certain movies. Probably the biggest one everyone always asks me about, is Jaws: The Revenge. I hate that movie. And that novelization is fantastic. And it adds drug running subplots. It adds voodoo. And it made that movie so much better. And that's just one that's I still hate that movie, but that book was really good.
Is Jaws doing the drug running?
Jaws, unfortunately, is not, but he does swallow up some of the people doing the drug running.
Great. And so you then high on the drugs?
Then I would assume, he gets high on the drugs, but he's controlled by voodoo anyway, so he's probably full of drugs and voodoo. So he's just all crazy in that book.
He's a mess.
He is a total mess.
Oh my gosh. And now what is a programmer analyst?
For me, specifically, my job, programmer analyst, I am the lead developer for a company that owns several different chains of groceries. But I work for the corporate side. So I support corporate accounting. I work on all of our accounting software. So we have an accounting software called PeopleSoft, and it runs all of the accounts payable, purchasing, all of that stuff, supply chain stuff. And I support corporate accounting and doing all of our financial reports and making sure all of our stuff is going through supply chain correctly. That's essentially what I do, is support corporate accounting through this software.
Oh my gosh. And with everything that's going on these days, all you constantly hear about is supply chain, supply chain, supply chain. We know it as business owners, but have you seen fluctuations in those things through your job?
Oh, yeah. You see the slowdown as things come through our system, and they go through our system fine. It's just the actual vendors that we deal with are the ones that are having the issue. And so it's we try to get them to get stuff into our stores, but they can't get it there fast enough. So then you see the bare stores when you get there. So it's definitely something I've seen the slowdown on, especially in 2020. It's gotten a little bit better this past year.
That's great. That's good to hear.
Yeah, that makes us feel better. We want things to keep getting better.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we aren't just here to talk about podcasts on podcasts. We're also brought together by the film Office Killer from 1997. Was this a first time watch for you, Paxton?
This was, and I don't think I'd heard of it, which is surprising because I like a bunch of people in this movie. So I'm
Yes.
surprised I had not heard of it.
What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, I had seen it, but I didn't remember until you put it on. But it came out in the 90s, and at that time I was going to nursing school on Northwest 23rd, and so it was right by Cinema 21, and so I'd see any independent movie that came there.
Mm.
So I had seen it there, but I forgot about it, so it was nice to rewatch.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it. I've seen the cover. I remember Carol's face on the cover, but it wasn't something that I was aware of or had really watched. And then in doing some research and back and forth with Paxton being like, oh, sure, program analyst, I got this. Then I was like, no, no, no. This movie, I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, great pick.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was.
The synopsis is after accidentally electrocuting a writer, a mousy copy editor proceeds to systematically murder her coworkers. At the time of this recording, you can rent this on Amazon Prime. You can rent the DVD at your local video store like Movie Madness right here in Portland, Oregon. Our director is Cindy Sherman, who directed this and a 2019 documentary about the company Strand Releasing. But as an actor, I think this is very interesting. She appears first in Babes in Toyland's music video Bruise Violet in the 90s.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's written by Tom Kalin, who as a director made Swoon and I Shot Andy Warhol, which are two indie darling films. We have an additional dialogue credit, which I think is really interesting, by Todd Haynes, who all of us know as the director of Velvet Goldmine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Our cinematographer is Russell Fine, who did Girls Town in 96, Eye of God, a lot of television, including a ton of VH1 storytellers for Culture Club, Tor Amos, and Tom Petty, to name a few.
Fun life.
Yeah, right?
Right.
Our editor is Meryl Stern, who did this, Too Tired to Die, Into My Heart, a bunch of documentary series, and still going today. And now we get to the cast. Oh boy. We got Carol Kane, who, listeners, okay, Princess Bride, Addams Family Values, Scrooged, Trees Lounge, Theodore Rex, My Blue Heaven, Annie Hall. I mean, she has so many amazing credits. I love Carol Kane.
Yeah, it's amazing when the movie starts and you just hear her voice
Yeah.
as she's speaking and you know exactly who it is. She just has one of those recognizable tones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy when you do look her up how much she's done. Like, I mean,
Oh,
like you were
yeah.
just listing out. I mean, it's like I even forget half the stuff that she did. She's done so much.
Oh, and so many great things. I just listed off a bunch that I just randomly saw because for some of these actors, it's like, if you just list off the big ones, it's like, okay, great. But you forget that this person's been working for so many years and doing small parts, big parts, voiceover work. It's really incredible. Which brings us to Molly Ringwald. 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, just to name 3. Space Hunters Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, that one's for me. What can you say about Molly Ringwald? I mean, she's someone that in our youths, I think we just saw and was like, oh, you're one of us. She's not the cool kid, kind of the outsider, sort of gets an inside track sometimes. I don't know. How do you feel about Molly Ringwald, Paxton?
She's great. 16 Candles is probably one of my favorite John Hughes movies. 16 Candles and Weird Science are probably my 2 big ones. And they're probably the ones on the outs now that people are
Right.
kind of saying you shouldn't be watching. But you know what? They are, or what they are. And Molly Ringwald is so good. Like you said, especially in that movie, she's just this every woman. She's not super popular, but she has friends. She's not a dork. She's just sweet. And she's just like a real normal girl caught in the middle of this. And she is so good in that. I love her. And I like some of the stuff she's done later on. I didn't love, but I mean, I still enjoy the choices that she's making.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think this was a little bit different role from what she normally does play
Yeah.
because I think you're right. She was always cast as this outsider that didn't fit into whatever in that time. It was like the preppy rich kid world. And she was never that, but everyone loved her really. And I think in this role, she's really cast in a different way where she's this untrustworthy, sleazy lady, but you still love her though because it's her.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And that takes us to Jean Triplehorn. This is one of those actresses that some people just are like, I don't know who you're talking about. I can't picture this person until you look at a specific swath of time in which she was in Basic Instinct, Waterworld, The Firm, Very Bad Things, Sliding Doors. I mean, Jean Triplehorn was in so many things,
Yeah.
but you mention it to like casual movie watchers now, and they're like, no, I know Sharon Stone was in Basic Instinct, but Kevin Costner was in Waterworld, but you're like, Jean was right there too.
Yep. It's amazing how much you're right. It's exactly the same. The 3 you listed out are the ones I know her from, but I totally get she's right there, second lead, and people completely forget about her.
Yeah, and she's still working today, as is all of everyone I've listed off from the cast and the crew. But yeah, Jean, I don't know, it's just fascinating when you see she pops up, and I'm like, oh yeah, you were
Yeah.
really big. I don't understand how it works, but we also have Michael Imperioli, who was in Goodfellas, Sopranos, Summer of Sam, Trees Lounge, I Shot Andy Warhol. And then for the rest of the cast, we'll just address them as we go because there is a lot of people in this movie.
Yeah, there is.
We start with the noir stylized credits and Carol Kane's voiceover, which, as we already touched on, is truly wonderful. We get a POV of inside the mail cart in the office, which I always love. It seems very
Yeah.
90s. Jean faces off with her boss Victoria and finds out that she has to fire some people, and she's told to take echinacea drops for her cold, and she says it's Gary's cold, which I love this peek into office culture where they're playing a blame game with the cold, like who brought the cold in, who has the cold. It sets a nice little comment on the social commentary that exists in an office space.
Yeah, someone else was always patient zero. It's
Right.
never you, it's always someone else.
Yes, it's very true. We see Carol and then we meet Molly Ringwald. Jean has to hand out notices that people are being cut to part-time or working at home. What was your take on that? I thought I saw that it was part-time, but then it's like,
Yeah, that was odd. Well, first, it's seeing that they're prepping everyone to work from home was a weird parallel to what's going on right now.
yes.
So I was trying to figure that out. I was like, so it sounded like they were laying off people, but then, like you said, making them part-time. So I guess they work from home. That's kind of was my take as well. Is I guess it's part-time, but they get computers at home and then they can connect to the emails. That's kind of nice. That was my takeaway as well.
None of them were stoked on it, though. It seemed
Yeah,
like
no one
it
was
was
right.
it was very much something that people are experiencing right now, but just in a totally different way. Like it was a cold, and then
Yeah.
advancing into like needing people less. But then now we've got COVID and everybody working from home, so it
Yeah.
seems like very much of the times.
I get it for Carol because for her character, we see the mom soon and we're like, oh, she needs to go to work. She needs to get out of this home. And it would have been to fantasy draft things in a movie from 1997, just a couple more characters, home life situations. Like, for some of us, we have children. So the idea of working from home and having your kid be home, you're just like,
Mhm.
no. But it shows those challenges and how much maybe those people needed to be in that office setting.
Paxton, are you working from home right now, or are you in the office?
I am still at home. Our headquarters has been pretty good. We went home March in 2020 and have not gone back yet. But they've had a couple of plans where they're like, all right, we're going to start phasing people back in. But then we had Omicron and we had the Delta. And every time that pops up, they're like, all right, well, let's put all this on hold. You stay working from home. So I'm still here.
Is there anything you miss from being in the office?
Not really, honestly. No. When they first did it, I was like, man, I got to be home. Like, I wasn't super excited about it, but I've set up my office here now and I've been here for 2 years. So now I'm fine. I'm like, you know what? I'm fine if we never go back. There's no reason the last 2 years we've been done really well. And I'm like, we've proven we can do this. Let's just keep doing it.
Yeah, and Gary's cold stays with Gary that way.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need Gary's cold.
No.
No one wants Gary's cold.
In office settings like this, we see a trickle-down effect where Victoria clearly is probably the person that's supposed to be handing out these things. She has Molly Ringwald's character then do it. Is there a trickle-down effect with your job, or is your job something that exists on its own peripheral situation?
Yeah, I think we just exist on the side. We're a part of IT as a whole, but our group, our corporate accounting group, is off on its own. So our manager would do that. So our manager would be like Jean Triplehorn. So she'd be the one handing it down to us. Our Virginia, we don't ever see. I think she's in another building. It would be pretty much like what's happening here.
Got it. We then cut to more noir credits. Very cool, very stylish.
Yeah, these credits are super cool.
Oh my gosh, they're just gorgeous. I love movies, especially from this era, the 90s, where people were very into the style of something. So even if they're telling a small thriller that takes place in maybe 2 locations, they care so much. So the color gradient in these scenes, I mean, it's just the cinematography. It's just not what I expected when I pushed play on the 1997 thriller called Office Killer.
Yep, exactly.
They put a lot of time into that.
Yeah, a lot of
There's
this.
probably like a whole team, right, that was in charge of it.
Well, and everyone that was working from music videos and things. I
Yeah.
think that really feeds into this ability to kind of squeeze the most water out of a stone, so to speak. What am I, 90? What is that? What is
What are you squeezing water out
I
of
don't
stones
know.
for?
That's very weird. Ugh. Carol finds out and is quite upset about this whole situation. And after work, Michael Imperioli and Molly and Jean have cocktails. And I love this scene because I'm like, what are they drinking? Blue Hawaiians? What are
I
these?
wondered that too.
It's so weird.
I think it's interesting that you find it weird because that's your drink of choice.
Okay.
Anytime we go anywhere, you want to get whatever cocktail is blue
This is
just
true.
for the gag effect.
I do have a weird thing where I love to get the strangest stuff on menus, and we were at a place called Tokyo Table, which is like a Japanese hibachi grill steakhouse situation where they cook the food in front of you. They do the onion ring volcano situation, all the bells and whistles. And they had a drink on there that was blue, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get that. So I ordered it, and the waitress looked at me like I was totally insane. Like, no one's ever ordered this drink.
He was definitely the only person that's ever ordered that drink. They had to, like, pull out the sheet of paper that's like a mile long to figure out how to make it.
Pull out the bartender binder. They're like, what was that again?
Yeah, they're like, no, somebody really ordered it. We thought it was a joke. And then we were there with Sarah's brother, and he later ordered a beer, and I was like, oh yes, I'll have that. And the waitress thought I meant another blue drink, so the joke was on me. I got a second one, and it wasn't good the first time. But, oh man.
Well, you'll get no judgment here because I used to love Blue Hawaiians, and that is what it looked like. I used to love them, but that was years ago, and I don't really drink them anymore. But I think I like the color, and I kind of like the pineapple juicy, but I could totally see where...
Yeah, I think people don't really take the same care in blending a drink that's blue. Is just a theory I have.
Well, and I think too, when they're working in an office and clearly none of them have much money, and you want the most bang for your buck. So if you're going to get a cocktail, you want to zombie it or like Long Island iced tea, but that doesn't look as good on film. So they had to make it blue.
Totally.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what. That's probably the thought process. Is they're like, it's kind of a club. It needs to be colorful. Yeah. Molly, could you slick your bangs down more? Like, just
so much hair gel for this movie for her.
But this does remind me of office work hangouts. Now, Pax, is this something that you partake in, or would you avoid them like the plague, which is a saying I shouldn't probably still use, being that this is the COVID time?
Do I partake in those? I used to. I don't as much anymore as I've gotten older. I'd say when I first started here where I am now, I did go do office hangout stuff like that. But I'd say probably in the last 10 years or so, I've kind of pulled out from that. So I don't do that as much.
Yeah, for me, it was really, Sarah knows this, at my old job, I would never, ever. And on the rare occurrence, I'd be like, okay, sure, I'll go. But then the thing that bummed me out about it is that we talk about work. I'm like, we just all worked together.
You're like, I want to be done talking
why
about
are
work.
we doing this now?
You used to go to like the very last one because you worked in a school. So it was the end of the school year. You would always notoriously go to the last one and then order a white wine spritzer also just for the effect to see what people would do.
Yeah.
That's a great order. That's a great order.
So what would happen is, the mystery then builds. It's like, oh, Dirk is going to come. He's really going to be here this time. And then I would go and I would stand behind. You pick two people sitting at the bar not facing you. And I'm a small, pale man, so I would stand behind them. And then I would just say, can I get a white wine spritzer? And then you see people's shoulders raise up as they're like, what is happening? And then they don't know if they should look at whatever just ordered a white wine spritzer. And then I wait till the bartender comes over, and then I say, you know what? Let me change my order. Can I add a slice of lemon? And then people have to look. They can't help it anymore. And
Barry White just ordered a white wine spritzer.
Yes. The white wine spritzer was a great hangout drink. At home, Carol mixes tea, hot chocolate, and sweet and low.
Yeah, what was that about?
I was like, what? I rewound it because I was like, what is she putting in there? That was so weird.
It's so bizarre.
Well, and that made me wonder though, everyone has like really interesting drinks that they want to have. Maybe you have people that are having green tea, you have people that are having coffee, they're having smoothies. What are the typical office drinks in your office when you are in the office?
Oh, good question.
Typical office drinks. In the mornings, I usually have green tea with a little bit of lemon. And in the afternoons with lunch, I will have a soda, typically Diet Mountain Dew. That's what I do.
Oh, that seems so, for anyone that works in tech, I think Mountain Dew seems like, that or Surge? I don't know if they still have that. But.
You're required. Yeah, Surge. Oh, it came back. It did come back.
Oh,
it did.
Yeah, it did.
That's great. At my old job, it was coffee. There was a coffee cart, but it was run by the students, which at an elementary school is questionable.
You probably had some gritty coffee someday.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And I just heard a lot about Minecraft from the kids. Basically, that was it. Which flash forward 10 years or something, and now my daughter's playing it, so
You're
it's
like,
like,
you
oh,
can't get away.
can't.
I know it's never going away.
And she brings me coffee
There
sometimes,
you
so it's like,
go.
wow, full circle. Carol slash Doreen. This is where I transition to calling Carol's character by her actual character name. So those who have not seen the movie but are listening, Carol Kane's Doreen for the rest of this conversation. Sometimes it confuses people, so sometimes I stick with just the actors' names because people get lost. So Doreen's looking after her mother, who's played by Alice Drummond, who every time she pops up in
Yes.
something, we all love her. She's the librarian in Ghostbusters. She's in Awakenings, Eyewitness, Funny Farm, a million credits. She's such a wonderful, wonderful person.
Ray Finkel's mom and Ace Ventura.
Yes, that's the other.
That's my main connotation for her. I love her.
Ray Finkel. Oh, good pull. She's so sweet. I wish she got to be sweet in this movie, but she's also great as this cantankerous character.
Yeah, she's great as that. And it was funny watching this because Doreen helped her go to the bathroom. And did you notice she didn't wash her hands afterwards?
Yeah,
Like it was,
yes.
I
it
noticed
was
she didn't wash her hands and she also didn't wipe, but then
Yeah.
I
She
was
didn't
like,
wipe
I
either.
guess
I
I'm like, I
got
guess they
really
wouldn't
gross.
want to show that, but they had her on the toilet and then she just stands up.
Yep.
Like, okay, that's
Stands
it.
up and walks out. Yep.
Right
I
to
was
the walker.
really grossed out by that.
Yeah.
And she'll go straight from the walker to eating a sandwich or something.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh no.
It's like, no.
It's terrible. Her mom has the stair chair from Gremlins. I just love that every time we see
Oh,
it
that
in
is
a movie.
awesome. I love that too.
As a kid, did you want someone to have the Gremlins stair chair?
I mean,
Yes.
of course.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you
Yeah.
not? That thing's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I still want it. We have a spiral staircase. I don't know how it would work.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that could be more fun. Then.
Yeah. You're right. I love that we see Doreen leave and she unplugs the stair chair, and it's just like, oh, that's so mean, just trapping her upstairs.
And then the mom later is like, the cats unplugged my chair again.
She goes, you let the cats. She wasn't even home.
But clearly that's happened many times.
Yes, that's
Yep.
so true. Back in the office, Gary tries to push his article ahead of other people. Then there we get the office hierarchy. My job's more important than so-and-so's job. Is there an office hierarchy, or is that not part of your equation?
Not as much. There's obviously you got the managers and stuff, but really for the most part, there is a hierarchy, but it's not as visible as it is in this movie.
Mhm.
I guess with most of the people you work with, it's really, you're just kind of working with everyone and not really, I'm not at least working with anyone that's lording that over you.
Good. I like that. Late at work, Doreen hears a buzzing. She goes to Gary. He's a total creep, which I think is the movie's way of being like, trust me, you're going to be okay with this.
Yeah.
He yells at Doreen. She goes to the restroom. Gary tries to fix her computer, and while he's doing so, he shines a flashlight at her, and she backs into an electrical panel, and Gary's fried.
Right.
It was a good first death.
Yeah, and
It
his
really
arm looks
was.
really gross. There's some cool, like, gore shot there that I was like, well, they didn't have to. That's really
Yeah.
nice.
I noticed that too. I was like, well, they did mess him up a little bit. Good for them.
So she decides to take the body, and this part is strange. She bribes a
Yeah.
houseless person, which I thought would come back later.
I totally thought that would come back later.
And every time later on it shows people in the basement, I kept thinking we were gonna see the houseless person, but we don't. It's never brought back.
It isn't.
It's
That would have been
very-
amazing if we had all of a sudden seen him show up.
Right? Just like one of the
Yeah.
last ones where you're just like, oh, there they are.
She
Like,
found him. Yeah.
what a
totally.
treat. Oh man. Back at her home, we get a flashback of a young Doreen and a scene of an accident where the father dies, played by Eric Bogosian, uncredited. People know him from Talk Radio, Uncut Gems, the Helmet music video Give It, and Under Siege 2 Dark Territory. He's got a lot of credits. He's very well respected, but I love it when I see like the Helmet music video Give It. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
That is an odd
I
credit.
don't know that one.
No. No, yeah, it's great. At work the next day, Gary's missing, and Michael Imperioli, which I put his full name instead of the character 100 times in my notes, shows up at Doreen's with the computer for her to work at her home. We get some great email shots now.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a couple good email shots, and it requires you to hit F1 to answer the email, which was odd. I was like, that's weird. We also get some good old spreadsheet shots. They were all Apple computers, I noticed. So I'm assuming that's old Microsoft Excel for the original Macs. There's a lot of good old technology here. The PowerBook that she gets is amazing. It's like a little brick.
Oh,
It
yeah.
looks awesome.
Yeah, Sarah, when I met you, you had, what was it, an Apple 86? Or what was that? It was like a one-piece unit with a green screen.
Yeah,
I
I
think it
think
had
it
a
was that
floppy
Holiday
drive
6.
in the
Yeah,
front.
for sure. It was kind of a hand-me-down from my uncle.
I'd
It
say so.
somehow ended up to me, and it was at that time how I wrote all my papers for school. I don't know. It did the trick. I think we still have it in a box somewhere because
Oh,
my brother was
probably.
just like, "You can't get rid of it. It's a classic."
Molly calls Gary's home to find him. I love looking at the minutia of workspaces, everyone's little cubicle life.
Yes.
Back in the office, did you have a cubicle? Was it an office setting? What was the situation?
Yes, I have a cube, 3 cube walls, and then one side is open to come
That
in and out.
helps you get in, yeah.
Yeah. And they used to be taller, and then they changed it out for shorter, which was annoying. It's a little cube. I try to dress it up however I can my own way. But we're on a separate tech building. The main building, they have even shorter cubes. So it's like not really even cubes. You're all at one giant table. I mean, you don't even see the cubes.
What kinds of things do you put in there when you say you dress it up?
Well, I used to have my old soda can collection up and had a bunch of old vintage cans. I took that down and put up now just hodgepodge of toys that I've collected. Star Wars. I think I got some G.I. Joes and some blades and a Rubik's Cube that's one side is done and just random stuff like that. Some of my favorite stuff I put up there.
When you say blades, do you mean from Puppet Master, Wesley Snipes, or actual blades?
A figure from the original movie, the
Oh,
Wesley Snipes
Okay,
movie.
great.
Yeah.
Dirk, how would you decorate your cube?
Okay, so there's a lot going on here, thought-wise. One, anything you put up is an invitation for small talk. So
hmm
it's like you put a picture up of a loved one, the person's like, "Who's that?" And then they know their name. Then you're going to hear about that. And you know me, I love people, but sometimes maybe I'm antisocial. I don't know how you would word
Yeah.
it
Me
exactly.
too.
Yeah, but especially like if it's work or something where maybe you don't need to know everybody's everything, that's really tricky. But I could see how someone's soda collection would maybe be like, "Don't talk to me because I collect soda cans," or I might hang up capes. That's maybe what I would do.
Oh, I would think you would have. I mean, because this is your cube. And I know
Oh,
people can't see where you record your podcast, but clearly there's like a lot
sure.
of movie posters. You have the Lost Boys Lounge, but
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if you would take that into the office setting.
No, I think looking at you, because behind me is DVDs, Blu-rays,
Mm-hmm.
and VHS tapes, but behind you is like a wall of CDs. So maybe that's what I would do is I would bring in my EMF Schubert Dip album and hang that on the wall. And when people come over and look at it, they're like, "What is that?" And I go, "I know, it's unbelievable." And then they'd probably never come back and talk to me again.
So you would use
Win-win.
your decorations as a deterrent
Yeah.
to people. Okay, I see.
Yeah, because I'm just there to work. Small talk, let's take that over to the water cooler, which now probably doesn't exist due to COVID.
No, you can't hang with your people and drink water together.
Yeah.
Too many germs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. I mean, you bring up a good point. Per the soda cans that I put up, that invited lots of conversations. And that's
Yes.
why it's not up anymore. It even invited several coworkers thought it would be funny to switch them around and see if I noticed if the
Oh.
orders were different. And I caught them every time. Like I knew exactly the order. That I got tired of having to deal with that. So I just took it all down.
Which then is another thing that happens in offices, which okay, I was guilty of this, but moving someone's soda cans and being like, "Okay, let's wait until
Yep.
Paxton shows up and see if he notices that the Pepsi 84 is in front of the Pepsi 87 or whatever it is." I don't know which
Yeah.
I picked.
Pretty much. That's pretty much what it was. Yeah.
Okay, great. Did you have the types of cans that were just the straight ones that had like a little pull tab at one point?
Yeah, I had a couple of them. I mean, most of them, the ones I put up there were mostly the easily recognizable ones. Like I had a new Coke. I had several flavor variations of Coke and Pepsi that were from overseas and stuff. Yeah, old Mountain Dew. So there was like a mixture of really, really old ones and other just kind of foreign, weird flavor ones.
Yeah, which is very fascinating, but then you can have after time. It's fun at first to share something that's very individual with strangers, but then eventually you have a new person come in and they come over and they're like, "What's with all the soda cans?" And it's like, "Well, I already did this 15 times. Like, do I
know,
want to
right?
do this again?"
It's like, all right, new guys, sit down. We'll go over this one time.
You get out of the laser pointer and you're like, "Okay, we're starting here. This is clear Coke or whatever." I don't know.
People get really into those kinds of things though with soda because I always help my brother whenever he moves to pack up all of his stuff. And one time I packed up everything, his whole apartment, and I got rid of some things which he said I could do. And the one thing that he was upset about that I got rid of was a special kind of Mountain Dew that they made for a video game. Do you happen to know what that is,
The game
Paxton?
fuel? The
Game
fuel?
fuel. That's
Oh,
exactly
what?
what it is. I was hoping you would know. So I got rid of his 2 game fuel bottles, and he was so sad about it. And I had no idea. I was
Yeah,
like,
how are you
he
supposed to
probably just
know?
left these in here.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I get that.
I'm glad you knew what it was.
Well, back in the office, Molly gets an email for Gary saying he needs a break. And speaking of breaks, it's time for us to take ours, so we'll be right back. Oh hey, I was just deciding what to make for dinner tomorrow. How does maitake tacos with a porcini mushroom dipping broth sound? Or savory green chili corn cakes with an arugula salad? Well, how about roasted root vegetables with a habanero béarnaise sauce? Nah, I think I might go with a baked gnocchi and a carrot top pesto, but no matter which I choose, these and much more can be found at marshallshotsauce.com. That's right, the same place you'll find sauces like smoked habanero barbecue, serrano ginger lemongrass, red chili lime, and habanero carrot curry, to name a few. You will also find many creative, delicious recipes on how you can cook with each sauce. And every recipe is made with minimal ingredients and simple techniques written by Sarah Marshall, who also makes and bottles each bottle of Marshall's Hot Sauce. Plus, she just launched a new line of spice blends. The barbecue rub, by the way, is amazing, and the taco seasoning will melt off your face. Plus, her new edition of her cookbook Canning Guide Preservation Pantry is out now. Look, if you want to make your own awesome hot sauce and pickles and more, pick up Preservation Pantry. So head on over to Marshall's Hot Sauce, that's Marshall's, H-A-U-T-E sauce.com, and at checkout, enter VHS Podcast for 20% off. That's right, 20% off just by entering VHUS Podcast, one word, at checkout. Okay, back to the show. And we're back, and Virginia takes Doreen to her office. Nobody gets her name right, which I thought is hilarious. The classic.
That's a funny joke. I like
the
that.
name snafus at work. I got them all the time because my name is Dirk, or as the world hears it, Derek, Dirt, Eric, Dork, Jerk. It's like everything where I'm like, why would someone call someone Dirt? And they're like, I don't know, you said it. And I'm like, I didn't say it. So poor Doreen gets called numerous things in this film.
I get that as well with my name.
Okay, Paxton, not a common name. So do people call you different things?
Oh yeah, like I mean, they always hear it wrong. It's surprisingly the one I hear the most after I say my name. Hi, I'm Paxton. They start calling me Max for some reason.
Maxton.
Max. Yeah, just hey Max. I'm like, no. I got a Jackson one time.
Oh.
I get Peyton a lot. That's usually when they just see it written. They just glance over the X and see a Y. So
Wow.
I get that a lot. I mean, especially saying it, people are always hearing a lot of different things.
Virginia puts Doreen and Molly on Gary's missing article, and Michael and Jean talk in the apartment, and they mention office politics. Office politics, people in power and those with none, the illusion you contribute input. This is all stuff that I thought about so much at my old job because we would have administrators tell us or have these meetings. I just wanted to announce to everyone the Emperor's new clothes of the situation and be like, we don't have to do this every Monday, but like...
Oh man, Monday meetings are the worst
they're
in any job.
Terrible.
Do you have something like that, Paxton?
Yeah, but luckily they realized that first thing Monday morning status meeting is like, well, I just got here. What am I going to update you on where I went this weekend? So luckily they do it now. Tuesday or Wednesday is when we do our status reports. But even worse is they try to do Friday afternoon things. And I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Everyone is done.
Yeah.
Checked out.
Yeah, not happening.
Terrible time for that. Well, Virginia's in the copy room now, and she gets spooked, so she heads back to her office and finds Doreen. Virginia uses her inhaler, but something is wrong, because Doreen swapped it, and Virginia is dead.
Uh-oh.
That was a great kill.
Yeah. Her hand just stretched out with these weird bangly bracelets on there. Like
Yeah.
it's really good.
I loved her character because you could really feel what it would be like to be in the room with her. You
Yes.
know, it smells terrible of
Victoria.
cigarettes and
Yeah.
and perfume.
Mhm.
They did a really good job of you living in that space with her, which I knew what that office was going to smell like.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be in it.
Yeah, you get a great shot of her ashtray, and
Yeah.
it is the grossest thing.
Oh, so gross.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was gross.
Other things that are gross. Well, now we're in Doreen's basement, and she's watching TV with 2 corpses.
She is.
Oh,
And she
man.
snuggles up to one of them.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The next morning, Doreen's mom is nagging her, and I was like, don't mess with Doreen. She's not playing games. But we are. Paxton, are you ready to play a game?
Ooh.
Sure.
Okay, we're going to play office jargon, movie, adult or otherwise, or something Dirk made up. There's 10 choices.
Ooh.
Number 1, beat around the bush.
Office jargon.
That's correct. To talk indirectly. There we go. Beat around the bush. Number 2, open the kimono.
I wish this was an office jargon, but I'm going to say otherwise made up.
I'm really going to bum you out because it is office jargon.
No
Is it seriously
way.
not in my office?
I
mean?
should hope not. It means to share all of the information.
Oh.
And I looked
Well,
it up.
I may
on
start
it.
using that in my
No,
office.
please don't, Paxton.
I don't think you should.
No. I kept looking at it being like, this can't be. But yeah, it comes from Japan. I don't think we should still be using this term.
I don't think so.
Don't anyone have a meeting and be like, all right, time to open the kimono.
Time to open the kimono.
You'll be talking to HR real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3, think outside the box.
Definitely office jargon.
Yes, the creative outside of normal possibilities. To think outside the box. Number 4, ball is in your court.
I've been told that many times at the office.
Yes, yes. It means to make the next decision. Everyone loves to hear that the ball is in their court. Number 5, milk that turkey.
That sounds like a bunch of random words put together to me. So, okay, yeah, I'm going to say made up.
Okay, yes. I wrote down milk that turkey to make the most of a bad deal. As in, Pax, after lunch, we're going to need you to milk that turkey. But no, I made that up. That is not a term. Number 6, let's circle back.
Yes, that is definitely office jargon.
Yeah, it means let's discuss this at a later time. It's something I hate hearing anyone say ever.
I hate it. Yeah.
Next to let's table this and let's circle back means like, I don't want to do this now or then.
It just means they don't want to talk to you about it
Yes.
anymore.
Right. Or let's put a pin in it.
Oh,
Let's put a
no.
pin- That's another one.
All right, number 7, low-hanging fruit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yep.
That's where I live, right there. Low-hanging fruit.
It means to pick an easy task with little to no effort. Number 8, saggiest plums.
I love it. Made up?
Made
That's
up.
gotta be-
Yeah. I wrote, when I went to the break room, I found the saggiest plums. Number 9, let the cat out of the bag. Let the cat out of the bag.
Cat out of the bag. Yeah. I'm going to say, well, I know that phrase colloquially, but
Yep, yeah.
yeah, office.
Yep, it means to reveal information. So there you go. Number 10, no, seriously, somebody should have put air holes in the bag. Now we have one less in our cat count, and nobody's going to want this bag. Okay, I made that one up.
Oh, really? You made that up? Oh.
After the cat in the bag, I was just like, wait.
I just heard that yesterday.
Yeah, oh, man. Office jargon. What a fun list of things to look up and
Yeah.
not want to have people say to you. Molly goes in to throw Doreen under the bus, but Doreen already sent the article in, and Molly uses some not okay terms, and HR fires her. It's
Yep.
quite a scene that I thoroughly enjoyed, if only it meant that Molly was leaving the film, which is not the case.
No, she's still there.
We learned that Doreen's father was the founding editor of the magazine and that he died in the car accident, which we had seen earlier. Doreen overhears Molly in the bathroom calling her multiple names. Office bathrooms, let's talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
What a treat office bathrooms are. At my old job, I enjoyed it because people would say they were going to use the restroom, only to come back smelling like Febreze and Marlboro Light 100s.
Yep. Yeah, office bathrooms, they're not the greatest. Even the ones at our building aren't great either. And they have the worst toilet paper. Like it's like one
Yes.
ply, like half ply.
That's because, like, if you think about office supplies, there's always been someone in charge of ordering them, but they order them from, like, one general company. And so they're always the worst toilet paper. It's the worst pens. It's things that nobody would ever use at home, but it's the cheapest,
Yes.
you know?
Mhm.
So I didn't work in an office, but sort of. I had my own office and we would order all of these supplies, but I would always order my own things because I was like, I can't even write with this pen.
Yeah.
Like, it's the
Right.
worst pen.
Yep. I tried to bring in my own stuff too. I even considered bringing in my own toilet paper. It's that bad. Like I was
Yeah.
just like squirrel it away in my bag and just carry it in when I have to go.
Yeah.
I think so. And it's funny that you mention office supplies because the next scene, Doreen kills a guy with a tape dispenser.
That's right, I
That's your
remember.
world, man. Tape dispenser guy.
That's true. I do use the tape dispenser a lot for dispensing tape, not murder. Let the record show.
Not murder.
But
not-
now you know you have a weapon in your wrapping room if
That's-
you need
Which
one.
is the room where I'm an MC.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
It's funny to this point, Doreen has been pretty creative with her
Yes.
murders.
Yeah.
I've been kind of impressed with the butane, mixing up the butane, and then this tape dispenser murder, but then not so much when she comes later to Jean Triplehorn's character. So
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. That one came out of nowhere. I was not expecting that one.
Yeah. She's definitely like an opportunist murderer, I think.
Yeah.
Paxton, you're in the office. You need supplies. Is there a supply closet? Do you have to order supplies? How does this work for you?
In my office, there is a literal supply closet. Yes. And you can walk over there. You used to be able to go open it up. And there was one of the things they ordered that I do like is steno pads that I use for taking notes when I'm
That's like
developing
a
and writing
lined
code.
paper.
Yeah, it's got the line down the middle, a bunch of horizontal lines and one vertical line right down the middle that
Mm.
kind of splits it. I like using that paper. So I get those pads, and their pens are, like Sarah said, they're like, they're okay. I tend to bring in my own, but those pads tend to be the biggest thing, and copy paper. We'll grab it out of there. So they have a bunch of stuff that you can just grab. We don't have to go through. They order and they resupply that
Oh, okay.
closet for us.
Okay.
And now that you work from home, are you in charge of your own office supplies?
Now I get to be in charge of my own
Good.
office supplies and toilet paper.
Which is a great time to segue for one brief moment and talk about pens. What's your pen of choice?
Oh, probably the one I use the most is the Fisher Space Pen. I got one when I went to a space center. I went to Houston and there's one in Huntsville, and I got the astronaut pen is essentially what it is.
Oh,
And I got one and it kind of fell apart. So I wound up ordering a real good one off of Amazon. So that's the one I tend to use all the time because it's a great pen. When you start writing, it doesn't have that glob of ink at the
Mhm.
beginning, and you can write upside down with it. It's just super solid, however you're writing. And it's great. And it lasts a really long time. But if I'm not using that, Bic tends to be my favorite brand of just regular office pen.
Sarah?
Well, I like Le Pen, which are those skinny black
Mm.
ones that have the little caps. I like them because of the way that they write, but also the way that they look.
Yeah, the fine print.
They're very
is
sleek.
Great. What's the other one that I use all the time? A G2?
G2 is,
Oh,
that one.
yeah, there's G2s.
Yeah, I like those as well.
Yeah, they work pretty good. Back in Doreen's death basement, we see her pull fingernails off Virginia's hand, and we see the dead Girl Scouts from earlier, which I forgot to tell the listeners there's Girl Scouts in the movie.
Did we see her kill the Girl Scouts?
No.
Okay. Because when they showed up in the basement, I was like, what? She killed them? I didn't know she killed them. I knew she invited them in, but I totally lost that she killed them.
Yeah, we get an aerial shot of them going in the house. She invites him in the house. And
Yeah.
I didn't think she was going to kill them.
She sure does. It came at a really interesting time for us too because our daughter just
Yes.
joined Girl Scouts, and this was like her first week of selling Girl Scout cookies. And so as soon as that came on, I was like, oh no, this is why they don't have you do that anymore, because they used to have you
Right.
go door to door. Now they have you hang a little flyer on the outsides of people's door where
Yeah.
they can scan a code and you drop it back off to them contactless.
Mhm.
Nice. Yeah, and it's about that time, right? It's cookie time, right?
It's
So
right
when that
now.
showed up, I was like, oh, I need to remember to find out who's selling cookies.
We are.
because
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I need some cookies.
All
Okay,
right.
perfect. Everyone is all rotting in this basement, and up until this point, the movie hasn't really gone too into the gory sort of realm. But there's a great sequence here where she's taping shut Gary's chest, and just her hand flopping around in his
That's funny.
guts. It's just really gross, but it's very dark humor, and I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, I feel like that whole part started to get where I get a little queasy when she's pulling off the fingernails, and then when the guts
Yeah.
go in, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, Doreen learns that Jean is committing grand larceny through an email, which is a plot point I didn't understand was happening.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
I think it came up when, and I mentioned you get a shot of a spreadsheet and you see the computer she's ordering.
Mm,
There's something on that spreadsheet, I think, that Doreen sees and realizes what's happening.
okay.
So that was when I found out too. It was towards the end there.
Molly gets attacked in a stairwell, but we don't see by whom, and Doreen invites Jean to lunch and then bloodens her with a crowbar,
Yeah,
which is
the
not
crowbar.
office related.
No, it is not an office supply. And I thought too, when she hit her, I was like, did that kill her? Is she still going to
Yeah.
wake up? What's going on? She didn't hit her anymore.
Yeah, it's very abrupt. Then Doreen comes home and the cat's eating a hand in the kitchen, and she does this. She does this thing with the two severed hands where she's playing with the cat and she taps the hands on the table. It's such a Carol Kane moment, and I just thought, I bet she did that. I bet she.
That was improv.
Yeah,
I bet that was totally
I
improv.
just love her to death. It's so funny. And then we discover that her mom has died, and we get a scene that I think we all are glad is in this movie where Carol goes to 120. It
Yeah.
is so awesome. It's like people love Nicolas Cage for the Cage Rage in movies, but I think this scene by Carol Kane is just remarkable.
It's
It
so
is.
good and so
Yeah.
intense, and just her screams. I think it makes it so much more powerful that you see her killing these people, just no emotion at all. But then her mother actually dies just on her own, and it really shakes her to the core.
Mhm.
And maybe it's bringing up all these other things too, that she's been killing these people, who knows? But it's very intense. It's just so good.
Yeah, it's very much like a primal scream,
Yes.
and yeah, even how weirdly her relationship with her mom is. And then probably because of that, it's just a great, you feel it. You feel it.
Yeah. She's like childlike at one point, and then she's like so rageful. It's like she goes through the whole gambit. It's really incredible. The paramedics take mom away, talk about how the house smells of death, which, yep, that's true.
Yeah, when they're carrying her away, didn't he say like she probably has a few more in the basement?
Yes.
Which I
Yeah.
thought was funny because she does.
Yes,
Yeah.
so true. And then Michael arrives again. She invites him in. Jean wakes up in the basement because she's not dead and she's not tied up. And what a terrifying place to wake up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she wakes up and
And-
just immediately pukes.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, it's like another one of those descriptive factors where you're like, oh, it's so gross in there. I don't want to
Yeah.
be in that basement.
She sees all the dead people. She stumbles around. Her hand goes into Gary's guts another
Oh, yeah.
time. And then Doreen comes in, locks herself in the basement while Michael's in the kitchen, and she's going to kill Nora. This scene has a shot that I think is one of the more terrifying things I've seen in movies, period, where Jean Triplehorn is between a washer and a dryer, and Carol Kane has a knife, and she's banging the knife back and forth in front of her face between the two machines. It is terrifying.
So,
Terrifying. Yeah, I thought that too.
Yes.
Oh my
so
gosh.
scary.
We get a slow panning shot. Michael comes in to save her. She dispatches Michael. And then the camera from above slowly pulls away as the climax between these two characters happen. It's such an awesome creative choice. It kind of is unnerving and unsettling. You don't know what's happening. Is Jean okay? Is Michael going to get back up? We don't know. And then Doreen burns the house down.
Yes. Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, this whole final climax in the basement and he shows up was very just disorienting. And like you said, you don't know what's going on and it just ends like that. And she does it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's where we're going. And it was, oh, wow. It was just really well done.
Yeah, because aside from Jean money laundering or whatever it is that she's perhaps up to, she seems like an okay person.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that they have to have that something in there, because otherwise it's like, well, who are we siding with on this whole thing aside from Carol Kane? But
It's true.
it's
Who
very
you pulling for?
yeah.
Really.
And then we get a shot of her on the road. She's driving away, and we get the voiceover that she may be coming to your office. And end of the movie.
Yes. In a great drive away shot. I love those.
It's so good. Which brings us to final thoughts on 1997's Office Killer, Paxton.
I really enjoyed this movie. I'm surprised I hadn't seen it, but Sarah brought up a good point about when this came out, 97. I had just graduated college and I was a traveling consultant, so I was flying around all over the place. So I'm not surprised thinking about that time why I didn't go see it, but I'm so glad I watched it now because this is a fun little movie. I love the atmosphere. I love how it takes place in this tiny little apartment that looks like, did they say? It looks like New York. It looks like some building in New York somewhere.
They don't specify.
Yeah, but it looks like this all wood and glass building in
Hmm.
New York somewhere, and it's a great space. Everyone's great. I think Carol Kane's great. I really like Molly Ringwald in this. She's
Yeah.
different. I mean, her character is just this character. She's just looks like she's giving every guy in the office the eye down. She looks great, and I just had a lot of fun with her. I really enjoyed this. This was a total surprise.
Yeah, same. I was glad to revisit it because I definitely forgot about it. I mean, that's the thing when you see independent movies, but then if you now don't see them on the shelves of video stores, you
Right.
sort of forget about them. So I just saw it, watched it, loved it, didn't remember it, and then watching it again was a really lovely experience.
Yeah, I agree. It's sometimes these tangential things where I'm just like, okay, I want to have Paxton on and find this movie that I haven't seen. And I'm like, this is what we're going to talk about. There's so many ways things could go sideways. And just from the opening credit sequence, I was like, oh, this is one of those. It's one of those small, indie, awesome pictures where everyone's doing their best. The end result is something that's special, but is going to hit a DVD shelf and have key art that looks like a Lifetime movie. No shade on Lifetime movies, but this is not that.
It does.
It deserves, I think, to be talked about and seen more. I think the actors are fantastic. I think behind the scenes, all the crew, it's just super good. So yeah, I think Office Killer was super fun. Which brings us to final questions. Paxton, this is your questions just about yourself. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay. What do you like about being a programmer analyst?
Probably the thing I like the most about this is taking what the business wants and trying to figure out a way to solve it programmatically. And with whatever the system can do, figure out a way to make whatever the business wants to happen. That's probably my favorite part, is just using my knowledge of technology to solve and program a solution for the business. That's really what I enjoy doing.
You're like a professional problem solver.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I'm gonna have to remember.
You're like Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
The
The
wolf.
wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And what is a good day like for a programmer analyst?
For me, a good day is no meetings.
Yes.
And if I look on my calendar and I say you have nothing else today, then I am having a happy day. I had one yesterday where it was like I really didn't have any meetings, and actually I did have a couple meetings that got canceled, and that's a great feeling. I do have a big project I'm working on, and I was able to just sit down, put some music on in the background, and just code this program and get a good start on it. So that is a really good day for me.
I agree with that no meetings thing.
Yeah.
And I just have to say that now there's this new terminology that people like to use, which they're like, can we jump on a call?
Oh,
Or can
God.
we hop on Zoom? That's a meeting. And I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so always I'm like, nah, if we can't do this through email, just forget it.
Yep.
Yeah. Same. I
I'm
don't
an
want to jump on a
anti-meeting
call.
gal. I do not want
I
to jump on a call.
never want to jump on a call.
Mm-mm.
Yep. Never.
And what is a bad day like aside from jumping on calls?
A bad day. A bad day would be something in production has gone sideways and all hands on deck have to fix it so the business can do something. Supply chain, you tend to pay a lot of vendors and stuff. So if something goes wrong and you're not paying your vendors, that's a horrible day. So that's during the day. I'm also on a 24-hour pager. We have stuff that runs overnight. So if something breaks at 4 o'clock in the morning, I have to get up and I get a call. I go in and I have to fix it. So a really bad day would be I get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm there till 7 or 8 trying to fix it and hoping we get out whatever financial stuff that we need to get out. That's a really bad day.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
often does that happen that you get called?
Luckily, not that often anymore. We've gotten to the point where the systems become mostly stable. If I do get a call for something, it does happen either late at night or early in the morning. I can go up and I can normally fix it in 10, 15 minutes at the most. It's just something is a little hackney has gone wrong. And I just like, oh, this needs to be fixed and then done. And then it's a really big fire sale going on. That typically doesn't happen very often.
So you're not getting hackers, Cool Zero, or nobody's trying to get into the mainframe, or
yeah. Acid cool.
yeah,
Yeah, or acid burn. That's what it was. No, we typically don't have
great.
hackers getting into. They're at least not trying to get into the corporate financial software. No,
But sometimes Matthew Lillard is probably trying to get in there.
I'm sure he is trying, but probably just not where I'm working.
Any advice for someone interested in your field?
if you have the inclination to go into programming, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. I mean, I'm on more of a corporate wide software. There's a bunch of different things you can do and different technologies, and just find one that works for you. Go to a school and try out all of them. When I was in college, I made sure to take as many of the languages there that they had, just to see, because they're all kind of different. You can do similar things. It's just syntax is different, and it's just find one that you like and works best for you. Figure it out. I mean, because there's, like I said, there's a bunch of different options you can go into. Mine's one way, and there's just a bunch of others. So try as many as you can and just see, one may be terrible. And if you make your decision on just that one, it's like, oh, I didn't like that. Well, it's like, well, there's probably 10 others that you can probably try that have just as many jobs out there. So try a bunch of different ones before you decide if you want to do something or not.
Excellent. Which brings us to the final question, and it's my favorite question, Paxton. What are your dreams like?
My actual dreams? Like
sleepy time dreams. Yeah.
Sleepy time dreams? They're oddly based in reality. They're kind of a skewed version of normal reality. I had one the other night where for some reason I was at a house that I knew in my head was my house, but it wasn't actually my house. Thinking about it now, is like, it looked nothing like my house, but in my dream, I knew it was my house. And my wife was there, and for some reason we had roommates. I don't know why there were roommates, but it made perfect sense that we had roommates. Sure. And my wife and I were just walking around living in this house with roommates, and it was perfectly normal. That's kind of what my dreams are like, if I have a dream.
Good answer. I'm glad it's not stress-related dreams or like who moved my soda can. That's good.
Right. Yeah, not so much of those.
Well, Paxton Holley, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching Office Killer.
Thank you for having me.
Cult Film Club is one podcast you're a part of, as well as Hellbent for Letterboxd, not Hellbent for Leather. That's probably a different podcast.
It is a completely different podcast.
And I Read Movies Pod. Minutia. Look, I'm back.
Oh, there you go.
Back. Circle back.
Right. Well, check all three of those podcasts out for sure. And thank you to my co-host, Sarah. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. We both live here. Until next time, I'm Dirk Marshall, and this has been VH Us.